Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving into something you use literally every single day, probably without even thinking about it: software licenses. And we're going to ask a question that's right at the heart of our digital lives.
No, seriously, stop and think about that for a second. That app on your phone, the browser you're using, tons of work went into creating that. But at the end of the day, who actually owns it? Who calls the shots on what you can do with that code?
Well, the answer to all of that comes down to this: a software license. You can think of it as the official rulebook. It's a legal agreement that lays out all the do's and don'ts, and it's how the people who write the code protect all their hard work. This document basically defines your entire relationship with that piece of software.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. Not all rulebooks are written the same way. In the software world, there are pretty much two completely different philosophies, two main models for how this all works. And believe me, they could not be more different.
So let's start with the first model, which is all about working together, building a community, and, well, sharing. We call this open source software.
The absolute best way to get your head around this is to think of it like a recipe. Imagine open source code is a recipe for a cake that's posted online for everyone to see. You can see all the ingredients, you can share it with your friends, and you can even change it up. Maybe you add a little more vanilla or try a different kind of frosting.
So this model has a few key traits. The source code, the actual programming instructions, is totally public. That means anyone can look at it, learn from it, and even suggest ways to make it better. It's almost always free, but the real magic is the community. When you have thousands of smart people all chipping in to improve the recipe, you end up with some seriously amazing and super reliable software.
And I promise you, you have definitely used this stuff. The Firefox web browser, that's a classic example of a huge successful open source project. And the Linux operating system? It powers a massive chunk of the internet, from giant web servers to maybe even the Android phone in your pocket. It's all built on this idea of sharing.
All right, so let's move on to our second model, which, as you might guess, takes the exact opposite approach. If open source is all about sharing the recipe, this one is about locking it in a vault. This is proprietary software. So, to go back to our analogy, think of this like a secret family recipe, or maybe the formula for Coca-Cola. It's owned and completely controlled by one company. You get to enjoy the final product, the soda, but there is no way you're ever going to see the recipe. The source code is a top secret trade secret.
And because the code is secret, a few things follow. You can't see it, and you definitely can't change it. Instead of being free, you usually have to pay for a license just to use the software. But what's the upside? Well, with one company in charge, you often get things like dedicated customer support and a really polished, ready-to-go product right out of the box.
And again, you see these examples everywhere. Microsoft Windows, the operating system on millions and millions of computers, that's proprietary. The game Minecraft, a total global phenomenon, also proprietary. You buy the game, but that code underneath it all is owned and controlled by the company.
Okay, so we have our two big ideas: the open, sharing community versus the closed, controlled product. Let's put them side by side to really see how different they are.
And when you put them next to each other, the contrast is, well, it's crystal clear. With open source, the code is public. Proprietary, it's secret. Open source is usually free. Proprietary, you usually pay. But the biggest difference, the one that really gets to the heart of it, is this. In the open source world, changing the code is encouraged. It's how things get better. In the proprietary world, it is strictly forbidden.
So after all that, what are the most important things to walk away with? Let's boil it all down to the key takeaways.
First, that software license, it's the rulebook. It decides everything. Second, open source is that collaborative public recipe model we talked about. Third, proprietary software is the commercial secret recipe model. And finally, and this is probably the most important point of all, the choice between these two isn't just some minor detail. It completely changes how software gets built, who improves it, and how it gets out into the world. It's a fundamental difference.
So, I'll leave you with this question to chew on. Take a look at the apps on your phone, your computer's operating system, the browser you're using right this second. Now that you know the difference between the open recipe and the secret one, which model do you think is really powering more of your digital world? The answer might actually surprise you.